welcome to ET Now Startup Central, India's first and only daily show dedicated to startups, technology and entrepreneurship. I'm Chandra, coming to you live from India's startup capital, Bengaluru. And let's begin then with the two top voices we have on the show today. My colleague Sonali Krishna caught up with Future Group's Kishore Biyani as well as Google India's Rajan Anandan to really find out about the future of retail, what Kishore Biyani calls 3.0, where he will combine click with motor. Now remember, Kishore Biyani has for long been one of the most vociferous critics of the e-commerce model where people keep burning cash. He says there's no future to it. So what is Biyani's answer to this to make commerce all pervasive in India? Listen in to his conversation in this interview.
3,500 SKUs available in the store any given point of time. You can walk in and shop. You can WhatsApp and shop. You can make a voice ordering and shop. You can text and shop. You can go to the web and app on the shop. So I think there are various ways of shopping which you can do.
So I can only do that if I'm a member of EasyDay.
Right now, yes. But once we have 2,000 members, we close the membership for every store.
Okay. And how much do I need to pay to become a member?
I think it's a 999 rupees membership which we are taking.
Okay.
And you get a lot of privileges along with the membership. You get 10% off on whatever you buy in the store. Plus the other privileges which we create for you and we tailor make discounts for you.
So basically, if I've got you right, and correct me if I'm wrong just before I go to Rajan, is that essentially we're looking at a more sophisticated mom and pop or a kirana store, which will now be organized, sophisticated supermarket, which will also do delivery via tech.
I think it's much, much more than that. I think data will enable us to do things which one can't imagine. Okay. I think that's something which we are going to unveil today, how data is going to help us to do business.
Coming to you, Rajan, I was told that, 10,000 stores, mapping that 10,000 stores, getting the data as to, looking geographically in terms of where there is the maximum footfall and traffic is where Google is going to play a very important role. So explain to me how you're going to do that and how you're going to overlay tech on, this ambitious retail project.
No, absolutely. Well, first of all, we are very excited to partner with Future Group on this very exciting initiative. I think India is ready for retail 3.0. Look, at a simplistic level, we have 300 million smartphone users in India, right? Okay. There are about 400 million internet users, and this large number of users who are spending an enormous amount of time on the internet actually, gives us a lot of data, right? In terms of where they live, in terms of their location, in terms of, their catchment areas and so on and so forth. So we are able to use many of the signals that we get from many of our different products, right? Obviously starting with Android, starting with Maps, and so on and so forth, to essentially help identify the best locations to put, let's say, a store, right?
Sure.
There are many different signals, and we're working very closely with the Future Group team to sort of identify these locations. So that's sort of the first, I think, area that we're partnering with the group, and I think it's a very important area because you're bringing real-time signals, many different kinds of signals, right? So for instance, you can say, where are the most number of people in a certain part of Mumbai or Delhi or Lucknow, but then you can also say, like, where is a certain part, where is the place where you have the highest number of searchers for, let's say, grocery or food products and so on and so forth. So you can combine a lot of different signals to identify the location. So that's the first area, but there's several other areas where we're very excited to be partnering with the group.
Away from that big story to the big deal story of the day, the funding story of the day, where Portea, founded by Meena Ganesh, serial entrepreneur, has raised $29 million in its Series C round of funding from a whole host of investors. Remember, Portea started out in the home healthcare space, and it has been gaining traction over the last few years. My colleague Rahul Dama caught up with Meena Ganesh to really understand the significance of the Series C round, where capital will be deployed going forward.
We have closed our Series C. We are very well funded to take on the challenge of really becoming the comprehensive service provider for our customers. What you learned in the last few years is that what the customer wants is there a one place that I can go to get all my outside of hospital health needs. And to become that single partner or single port of call is where we are investing a lot of our efforts, which means We have to create the depth of services that the patients need, the breadth of offering, so that there are different needs that they may have at different times in their lives, and we are able to provide that to them. We of course are present all over India, and that is something which is important for us, the geographical spread. But more important is that in each location that we are, we want to become the dominant player. We want to be the go-to brand for the patient to get whatever they need, which means bringing in a number of different services. So for instance, we are adding nutrition, we are adding diabetic care, managing chronic diseases such as diabetes through technology. So these are solutions that we have now put together, and we are going to put a lot of weight behind that, so that we are able to offer that in a full-fledged way across all our geographies and to all customers.
Got it. You know, you're present in about 16 cities right now. 2.5 lakh patients is what you've sort of catered. But moving ahead, would you want to focus on this existing cities, or are you looking at a geographical expansion also? You know, would funds be deployed in that area? If we do look at newer cities, probably the tier 2 market also, is that really lucrative?
So the focus is predominantly around consolidating and growing ourselves in the cities in which we are already present. We might add up a few add some more cities as we go along, based on the demand patterns, and if we are working with some hospitals, then we realize that their reach is into some of the cities and they need us to support them there, then it's an automatic and a very organic way for us to enter that new market. But the focus is going to be that if we are in these X cities, are we present in every aspect of the patient's healthcare journey in that city, in the non-hospital space? That's really our key focus.
You know, in terms of customer trends, what are you seeing over the span of a few years? Are you seeing more awareness among people, for home care services? Are they more open to it? In terms of, you said you will be adding new services, be it nutrition, diabetes. So, a few years down the line, how do you really see Portea? I'm sure you won't want it to be a pure play home care services company, because you've made some acquisitions also. So how do you see this customer trend spanning to a larger role that you're looking on?
You're absolutely right. We see ourselves as a consumer healthcare services company. Okay. So delivering services at home is obviously one way in which, one channel or one route in which we get services delivered to the patient, but technology is another route. We work pretty extensively with some of the largest pharma companies in this country, working on their specialty drugs and their innovative molecules. And we distribute the products, we work with the patients, we help the patients get any benefits that the pharma co may offer by way of reduced demand or reduced or better support services, some medical support, counseling, what have you. So there is a whole gamut of support that a patient who, for instance, if you look at a cancer patient who might be on a drug that we distribute for one of our large pharma companies, their requirement is not just the drug. Their requirement is so comprehensive. They need counseling, someone to tell them, listen, this too shall pass, okay, we are there to hold your hand. So just psychological counseling for them and their family. Counseling on the drug, that yes, this drug creates some side effects, but by the way, this is how you can manage that, and this is how you can get by it. And oh, by the way, if you stay the course for 2 months, that's when you'll start to see the effect. Don't jump the gun too early.
You need someone who can tell you.
You need someone to tell you that. Third part is the actual medical. Just the drug may need to be infused, so somebody has to go there and give an injection. The fourth is that not just the medical support for that particular drug, but that person needs so many other medical support. They may need nursing, they may need someone to care for their port, because a lot of the people who are going through chemotherapy, a port is fixed into them, and that port needs to be flushed regularly. Something of that nature. Maybe they just need supportive care, maybe just moving around and taking them to the hospital, bringing them back. They need supportive care, they need medicines, they need labs to be done. So there are so many things in equipment, and that's when we become the go-to person. So my health manager becomes your family physician.
It's a long-term relationship that you share with your customers.
That's
plus
correct.
That repeat case is sort of high because it's long-term. Okay.
That's
Now, lastly, in terms of, while this funding would give you a leeway to expand in terms of focus on niche areas, profitability or breaking even is sort of the buzzword over the last year. So now at Portea, you think that can wait for now because the focus areas is on expanding the business, or consciously, even profitability or breaking even is somewhere, on back of the mind?
Absolutely. We, at the city level operations, pretty much in many of the cities out of our 16, we've already broken even, and we see that only getting better over the next, so in the next 18 to 24 months as a company, we look forward to being profitable. So it is very much a key part of our own thinking.
You heard out Meena Ganesh outlining her plans for Portea Medical going forward. But don't go anywhere. We have to take a short break at this point. But on the other side of the break, we bring you a conversation with the top management of IDG Ventures, one of India's oldest VC firms, on why they are investing more in the late stage segment. We also bring you two fascinating videos. One that tells you about Apple's comeback to Microsoft, and another that tells you about a robot that can do backflips. Stay tuned to Startup Central. Welcome back to Startup Central, and as promised, we bring you a conversation with Sudhir Sethi and T.C. Meenakshi Sundaram, the founders of IDG Ventures, one of India's oldest venture capital firms. Their portfolio companies include the likes of Policy Bazaar, Lenskart, FirstCry, Unifor. They even had a stake in Myntra before it was sold to Flipkart. We caught up with them to really understand why an early stage firm like IDG is showing more and more interest in late stage deals. Is this because of a faster pace of return? What will this mean for startups seeking investment at the seed and Series A stage? And if this also addresses the question of last mile capital, late stage capital that is somewhat reduced with the likes of Tiger Global and SoftBank going slow on investing in India. The IDG top management is confident about the strategy that they've adopted for late stage, and they are also sure that this is the right time to invest and list in the Indian stock market. Listen into what they had to say.
If you look at us, we are an early stage fund. We have about $500 million worth of assets under management. And at this moment, around 2012, we saw some of our own companies scaling rapidly to revenues at 1,000 crores, 1,500 crores. And we were in the third fund and we said, okay, that's a great opportunity. So we started doing investments which are called crossovers. So that's our first late stage step which we took. And we also found that many of these companies are giving us the opportunities to exit at going IPO. We looked at that rationally and found a lot more companies. In fact, I would say companies who have achieved over 100 million revenue were about 40 plus in the market space. And that, being technology investors, we started allocating capital to obviously seed, because that's what can potentially scale in a very rapid manner, but over a longer period of time. We did our Series A, Series Bs, that's what we are good at. We started looking at even the late stage because these companies were very, very solid growth companies. These were leaders in the market space, and we are technology investors. Some of them, for instance, software companies were doing licensing, and our opportunity to add value by introducing the SaaS and cloud model was one opportunity.
Previous years, we've seen, the likes of Tiger Global and SoftBank filling that gap, but they've gone a little slow on new investments. They are focusing on their current portfolio. So does this fill a gap in that sense, the gap that we've seen in the late stage funding, so to speak?
Yeah, the names that you mentioned are the ones who come in as the single investor into a round, and when they are not that active, then it's a question of a consortium coming in, where there are a lot of PE funds who are now interested in looking at tech investments because they have grown and they are now getting ready for better liquidity events. At that time, investors like us who understand technology can closely work with these PE funds. So that is something, as an alliance, it is happening, like it happened in New Gen, where we and another PE fund co-invested together in a 15 million round. Similarly, in the recent one, Polyjuice, it's $80 million round. But so our investment contributed to that in terms of the way we come in and look at stuff.
Right. We're also seeing an interesting trend where, on the one hand, you're entering the late stage deal space. On the other hand, you also have a tie-up with Axelor, to look at early stage startups in some of the new areas such as IoT. How you're balancing these two and also ensuring that, the startups that really need funds at, say, the seed stage, the Series A, they're not shafted in a sense because the capital is going to some of these established players?
Oh, absolutely not. So if you look at, first it starts with people. Both of us have been investing in India in the venture stage technology since 1998. And that experience has obviously been very valuable. We've seen 3 maybe 4 down cycles, and equal amount of exuberant cycles. So I think that has given us deep knowledge about the market and experience to go and invest in late tech companies. Overall, that doesn't mean we don't do the seed. There are different people. We are a 17-member team right now, okay, and spread across Bangalore and Delhi. Our Bombay office will open in January, and so we'll have national presence. 3 cities basically. Our portfolio is now about 70, which is we're adding about 15 to 20 every year. We are seeing about 3,500 new companies every year. So there's an engine which is built up. So there are people who specialize in our firm for seed. There are people who specialize for Series A's and B's, and there are now people who are specializing for late technology investments.
You